The Montana dusk settled heavy and cold under a 28-degree Fahrenheit sky on Wednesday, October 27, 2025. The snow-dusted pines casting long shadows as the wind howled through the wilderness. 50 miles north of Sarah Grayson's ramshackle cabin, a coalition base loomed, a 5,000-square-foot fortress of steel and concrete, its edges scarred by decades of secrecy, its perimeter bristling with guards and $200 locks. Inside, the faint hum of Dr. Leonard Voss's stolen fragment pulsed, a 20,000-watt shard of starlight amplifying the sky's energy into a weapon, a trillion-dollar gambit born from Joshua Haldeman's $5,000 dream. Elon Musk led the charge, his boots crunching through the snow, the Starlight engine core glowing in its reinforced case slung over his shoulder, a $50,000 beacon guiding them toward reckoning. May Musk followed, her silver hair whipping in the blizzard, the cracked leather journal clutched tight, her eyes fierce with a widow's resolve. Jolie, the 85-year-old nanny who'd once scraped by on $8 an hour, trudged beside her, her frail hands steady around Joshua's $5 photo, her Spanish lilt a quiet prayer against the storm. Clara limped behind, her blood-stained $50 coat dragging, her wrench gripped despite the ache in her wounded frame. Evelyn Carter flanked Sarah Grayson, her 78-year-old hands steady on her rifle, her white hair a banner of defiance, while Sarah, 30, Joshua's green-eyed granddaughter, carried her $50 radio, its signal syncing with the core, her engineer's mind sharp with purpose. The 50-mile trek had been a grueling race against Voss's 24-hour deadline, the group scavenging a battered coalition truck abandoned in the wilds. Thanks to Pete Grayson's 50-year-old mechanic tricks, his hands twisting wires with a grit that belied his 70 years. Now, as they crouched behind a snowbank 200 yards from the base, the blizzard raged, a 20-mile-wide wall of white that cloaked their approach. Elon's sharp eyes scanned the fortress, his voice low but electric. Guards at the gate, 2 trucks, armed. Pete, can you take one out? Pete, his weathered face grim, nodded. 50 years fixing junk. I'll kill it. He slipped into the storm, a shadow against the snow, his hands clutching a $200 wrench scavenged from Sarah's cabin. May's breath clouded, her voice trembling but firm. Joshua's dream. Voss'll twist it. We stop him here. Jolie's frail voice rose, her photo trembling in the wind. The star guides home, she said, her Spanish lilt cutting through the howl. It's us, his safeguard. We're his flame. Clara grinned, her wrench raised despite her sway. Let's light him up then. I'm done bleeding for this. Sarah's green eyes burned, her radio humming. Victor's in there. My brother. If he's with Voss, I'll face him. This ends tonight. Evelyn's rifle steadied, her grandmother's steel unyielding. For Lily, for you, Sarah, Joshua's blood fights back. A muffled thud echoed, Pete's wrench slamming into a truck's engine, sparks flying as it sputtered dead. Guards shouted, their voices swallowed by the storm, and Elon seized the chaos. Now, he barked, charging the gate, his $200 crowbar snatched from the truck, swinging at a lock. Metal groaned, the gate buckled, and the group poured in. The core's glow spilling across the snow like a war cry. Inside, the base was a labyrinth of steel corridors, its walls humming with the fragment's power. Guards swarmed, rifles flashing, but Evelyn's shots cracked through the din, dropping 2 with a sniper's precision. Clara swung her wrench, her wounded arm trembling but her aim true, cracking a helmet as Sarah darted ahead, her radio guiding them to the fragment's pulse. May shielded Jolie, her journal a talisman, her voice rising, for Joshua. As bullets pinged off the walls, they burst into a cavernous chamber, its ceiling soaring 50 feet, the fragment glowing on a $50 million pedestal, a jagged shard of starlight radiating a 20,000-watt beam that bent the air. Dr. Leonard Voss stood before it, 90 and frail but commanding, his physicist's eyes cold with a half-century of greed. Victor Grayson flanked him, his graying hair wild, his rifle raised, his face a mask of conflict. Guards fanned out, a $500 pistol gleaming in Voss's hand, its barrel trained on Clara. "Musk," Voss rasped, his voice a venomous thread. "You brought the core. Good. Hand it over or she's first." He nodded at Clara, whose breath hitched, her wrench trembling but her grin defiant. Elon stepped forward, his crowbar steady, the core's case slung tight. "You've got nothing, Voss," he said, his voice steel. "A fragment, a thief's prize. This," he tapped the case. "It's Joshua's heart. You don't deserve it." Victor's rifle wavered, his green eyes, Sarah's eyes, flickering with doubt. "Sarah?" he called, his voice cracking. "You're with them?" Sarah pushed past Elon, her radio raised, her voice ablade. "You sold us out, Victor. Mom died hiding this. You chased me for Voss's cash. Step off." Voss's laugh was dry, chilling. "Family squabbles, cute. I funded Joshua, $5,000 in 70. His dream was mine till he betrayed me, chose her." He pointed at Evelyn, his pistol twitching. "Over me, I crashed him. 36, $5,000 of wreckage. For this." Evelyn's rifle snapped up, her voice breaking. "You killed him. My Joshua 36 for power? You coward!" Tears streamed, but her aim held, a grandmother's rage burning bright. May sobbed, her journal falling, her hands clawing the air. "He died for us, for Lily. You stole everything." Jolie shuffled forward, her frail frame dwarfed by the chamber, her $5 photo raised like a shield. "The star guides home," she sang, her Spanish lullaby echoing off the steel. Pretoria, 1985, a memory of Joshua's laughter. "You lost it, Voss. His light's ours." Voss's pistol swung to her, his eyes narrowing. "Old woman, shut it!" But the fragment flared, its beam pulsing with her voice, and the guards hesitated, their rifles dipping. Sarah darted to the pedestal, her hands sinking the radio to the fragment, its glow surging. A 100,000-watt flare that shook the chamber. "It's alive!" she shouted, her engineer's mind racing. "Mom was right! It wakes the sky!" Elon lunged, his crowbar slamming a guard's rifle aside, his voice roaring. "Now hit him!" Clara swung, her wrench cracking a knee, her wounded body swaying but unbroken. Evelyn fired, the shot grazing Voss's arm, blood blooming on his $50 million coat. Pete burst in, his 50-year-old grit disabling a guard with a chokehold, his wrench dripping snow. Victor dropped his rifle, his hands raised, his voice raw. "I'm out. Sarah, I'm done." He stumbled back, torn between blood and betrayal as Voss roared, his pistol firing. A wild shot that grazed Clara's shoulder, her cry piercing the din. May dove for her, shielding her with her body, her sobs ragged. "No more, no more." Jolie's lullaby rose, her frail hands steady, her voice a beacon. "Duerme mi niño, bajo las estrellas." And the core answered, its case flaring open, a golden pulse syncing with the fragment. The chamber blazed. A 1 million-watt surge disabling Voss's pistol, its circuits frying in his hand. He staggered, clutching his bleeding arm, his 90-year-old frame crumbling but his eyes wild. "The sky's not yours yet," he snarled, bolting for a side door, a $200 helicopter whirring outside. Sarah synced the signals tighter, the fragment dimming, its power tethered to the core. "He's got a piece," she shouted, her green eyes fierce. "It's not over." Elon grabbed the case, his crowbar dripping blood, his voice a rallying cry. "We've got the engine. He's running scared. Clara, stay with us." Clara slumped, her shoulder bleeding, her grin faint. "Still here, boss. Kick his ass." The helicopter roared, Voss vanishing into the blizzard, his $500 threat echoing. 24 hours burned. The sky's mine." Pete tackled a guard, his wrench flying, clearing their path as Victor sank to his knees, broken, his sister's glare burning through him. Evelyn lowered her rifle, her voice trembling. "He killed him. 36, my love. For this?" She clutched Sarah, a grandmother's wound unanswered. May held Clara, her tears soaking the journal, her voice fierce. Joshua's ours. We won. Jolie stood amid the chaos, her $25,000 life glowing in the core's light, her lullaby fading. The starlight binds us, she whispered, her frail hands steady. 4 hearts, 1 flame. The base trembled, the fragment's power dimmed, and the Montana night held its breath. A reckoning won, but a shadow fleeing into the storm. The coalition base stood battered and silent under a 28-degree Fahrenheit Montana night, its steel walls scarred from the firefight that had raged within moments ago on Wednesday, October 7, 2025. The air thrummed with the fading echo of Dr. Leonard Voss's $200 helicopter, its blades slicing through the blizzard as the 90-year-old physicist fled into the storm, clutching a $5 device tied to the Starlight engine fragment he'd stolen in Alaska. Inside the cavernous chamber, the fragment's pedestal glowed faintly, its 20,000-watt beam dimmed but alive, a jagged shard of starlight left behind in the chaos. Elon Musk stood over it, his sharp eyes glinting with sweat and resolve, his $200 crowbar dripping blood onto the concrete floor, the Starlight engine core pulsing in its reinforced case beside him, a $50,000 marvel forged by Joshua Haldeman's 54-year dream. Mae Musk knelt nearby, cradling Clara, whose blood-stained $50 coat soaked up a fresh wound from Voss's wild shot, her wrench lying idle as her breath came shallow but steady. Jolie, the 85-year-old nanny who'd once scrubbed tables for $8 an hour, stood amid the wreckage, her frail hands clutching Joshua's $5 photo, her Spanish lullaby. Duerme, mi niño, bajo las estrellas, still echoing in the air. Evelyn Carter leaned against a wall, her white hair stark against the steel, her 78-year-old hands trembling on her rifle, her eyes fixed on Sarah Grayson, Joshua's 30-year-old granddaughter, whose green gaze burned with an engineer's fire as she synced her $50 radio to the fragment's hum. Pete Grayson, 70 and weathered, guarded Victor, his estranged son, who slumped on his knees, broken by Sarah's defiance and Voss's betrayal. Elon's voice cut through the stillness, raw but commanding. He's gone, but not far. That device, he's got a failsafe. Sarah, sync it, now. Sarah's hands flew over the radio, her fingers steady despite the tremor in her voice. It's alive. Mom said it was. The fragment's tethered to the core. Let's wake it. She twisted a dial, the radio's hum surging, and the core responded. A golden flare that synced with the fragment, its beam reigniting in a radiant dance. The chamber trembled, the ceiling groaning as the light swelled. A 500,000-watt blaze erupting through the roof and piercing the 28-degree Fahrenheit night. A beacon visible 1,000 miles away, lighting the Montana sky like a second sun. Mae's breath caught, her tears soaking Clara's coat as she shielded her. Joshua, she whispered, her voice breaking. It's beautiful. His dream. Clara's grin flickered, weak but fierce. Hell of a show, she rasped, her shoulder bleeding but her spirit unbroken. Worth the bullet. Evelyn dropped her rifle, her hands reaching for Sarah, her voice thick with awe. Lily's light. My girl's light. It's real. Jolie's frail figure glowed in the blaze, her photo trembling as she sang, Bajo las estrellas, her Spanish lullaby weaving through the hum. The star guides home, she said, her eyes glistening. It's not a weapon, it's him. Sarah's green eyes widened, her engineer's mind dissecting the surge. It's broadcasting. Limitless energy, starlight caught and spun. Not destruction, life. Mom knew. The fragment wakes the sky, but not to burn, to shine. She synced the signals tighter, the core and fragment merging into a single radiant pulse that shook the base. A 500,000-watt symphony of Joshua's $5,000 vision, now alive in their hands. Elon knelt beside the pedestal, his sharp mind racing, his $200 billion empire dwarfed by the sight. Infinite power, he said, his voice low but electric. No fossil fuels, no grids, just stars. Dad saw this, a world remade. He touched the fragment, its warmth seeping into his palms, and the beam flared brighter, a golden thread stretching beyond the horizon. Pete stepped forward, his 50-year-old mechanic's hands stained with grease, his voice rough. I built with him. $75,000 of sweat. Thought Voss stole it, twisted it. This... He trailed off, his eyes on Victor, broken beside him. It's bigger than us. Victor's head hung, his rifle discarded, his voice a whisper. I chased it. $1 million for Sarah, for Voss. I was wrong. He met Sarah's gaze, his green eyes, her eyes clouding with shame. You're the star, sis. Not me. Sarah's lips tightened, but her hands held firm. You picked greed. I picked Mom. Live with it. The chamber's walls glowed, the beam's light spilling through cracked windows, and the blizzard outside softened, the snow reflecting a golden hue 1,000 miles wide, detected by Lucia at SpaceX, her voice crackling over Elon's comms. Elon signal's global. 1,000 miles. It's hitting Palo Alto, Pretoria, everywhere. What's it doing? It's singing, Elon replied, his voice steady but awed. Joshua's legacy, not a weapon, a gift. But Voss, he's got a piece. May rose, her journal clutched tight, her tears drying as resolve hardened her face. He died for this. For us. We can't let Voss twist it again. Jolie shuffled closer, her $25,000 life radiant in the glow, her lullaby fading into a vow. The starlight binds us. 4 hearts, 1 flame. It's alive, Nino. Because of us. Clara coughed, her grin fading as blood seeped through her coat. Hope it's worth it, she muttered, her voice faint. I'm cashing out. Evelyn's hands steadied Sarah, her grandmother's strength unyielding. It's worth it. For Lily. For you. Joshua's dream lives. Sarah's fingers paused, her green eyes narrowing. Mom said it's alive. Sentient, maybe. It's not just power, it's choosing. She adjusted the radio, the beam pulsing softer, a rhythmic hum that felt aware. Lily warned me, choose wisely. What does it want? Elon's sharp gaze locked on the fragment, his engineer's brain wrestling with the impossible. Sentient? If it's alive, it's not just tech, it's a mind. Dad built more than we knew. He lifted the core, its warmth pulsing like a heartbeat, and the fragment answered. A gentle flare that bathed the chamber in gold, a whisper of intent beyond their grasp. The base's lights flickered, the coalition guards scattering into the storm, their rifles abandoned as the beam's light overwhelmed them. Victor rose, his hands empty, his voice raw. I'm done. Voss can rot. Sarah, He faltered, his sister's glare silencing him. A rift unhealed. Pete grabbed his wrench, his 50-year-old grit steadying him. He's got a failsafe. That device. He'll twist it yet. May's voice rose, fierce through her grief. Then we protect it. For Joshua, for Lily, for Sarah. It's ours. Jolie stood tall, her frail hands steady, her photo glowing in the light. The shepherd found his flock, she said, her Spanish lilt a prayer. The star burns for us, not him. Sarah's hands lingered on the radio, her engineer's mind probing the hum. It's alive, she repeated, her voice soft but certain. And it's watching. Voss's piece. It's not dead. He's not done. Elon closed the case, the core's glow dimming but alive, his $200 billion will unbowed. Then we're not done, he said, his voice a blade. He's out there, 50 miles, 500, doesn't matter. We've got the engine, its heart, its soul. He's got a shadow. Clara's head lolled, her breath shallow, but her grin held. Kick his ass, for me, she whispered, her wrench clattering as May held her tighter. Evelyn's rifle rose, her eyes on the storm where Voss had fled. For Joshua, 36, my love, we end this. The chamber settled, the beam softening to a steady pulse, its 500,000-watt blaze a beacon of hope, not destruction, lighting the Montana night 1,000 miles wide. The starlight hummed, a living thread binding them. Joshua's dream, reborn in their hands, a power beyond power, a question beyond answers. Voss's helicopter faded, a shadow in the blizzard, his $5 device a ticking threat, and the group stood amid the wreckage. A family forged in fire, a legacy unbound, teetering on the edge of a choice they couldn't yet name. The wind howled, the pines whispered, and the starlight burned on, alive, aware, and waiting.